So you have this huge multi-million-dollar war between two of the biggest titans in real estate. And then, all of a sudden, it's over. But the real question isn't that it ended, it's who secretly came out on top.
So picture this. For 9 straight months, you've got these legal fireworks going off between the giant portal Zillow and the mega brokerage Compass. And then, suddenly, silence. Compass just voluntarily dropped its massive antitrust lawsuit.
But here's the thing. Was this Compass just quietly throwing in the towel after a big legal loss? Or did they actually manage to pull off a brilliant strategic win behind the scenes? Okay, let's get into it.
The whole affair wraps up with a real head-scratcher. Compass, the very company that started the fight, was the one to suddenly walk away.
But here's the really crucial legal detail. Compass dismissed the case without prejudice. Now, what that actually means is that they've put their sword away for now, but they've reserved the right to draw it again anytime they want. So the battle might be over, but the war, well, that isn't necessarily finished for good.
So what were they even fighting about to begin with? It all boils down to a pretty fundamental disagreement over how a house should be sold, and it all centers on this controversial idea of hidden listings.
Now, to really get this, you first have to understand the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service. For decades, this has basically been the central town square for real estate. It's a shared database where brokers all agree to post their properties for sale to create a market that's open and transparent for everyone.
But Compass came along with a totally different playbook, what they called their 3-phase marketing strategy. And what's really key here is step 1. They would launch a new listing on a private, off-MLS network that was only available to their own agents and their clients. It was like creating an exclusive early access club. Only if it didn't sell there would it eventually make its way out to the public. And this slide just lays out the core conflict perfectly. You had Zillow's policy, which was all about public first. Their rules demanded that any listing marketed to the public had to be on the open MLS within 24 hours. Their whole goal was total transparency. Compass, on the other hand, was all about private first, using that exclusivity to generate buzz. We're talking two completely opposite philosophies for how the real estate market should even work.
Yeah, with a clash of ideas this fundamental, it was pretty much bound to end up in court. And it did, kicking off a legal slugfest that lasted for 9 very intense months.
So the whole thing kicked off in the spring of 2025 when Compass sued Zillow. The summer was just a flurry of legal papers flying back and forth. It all came to a head in a big 4-day hearing in November, and that led to a really critical decision in February of 2026.
And that decision, wow. It was a huge blow for Compass. The judge flat out denied their request to force Zillow to stop its policy. Her reasoning was that Compass just hadn't shown they were likely to win the case. She even pointed out that sellers could still use Compass's private strategy. It just meant their house wouldn't show up on Zillow. At that point, it really looked like Zillow had the clear upper hand. But then, just when it seemed like Zillow was cruising to a legal victory, they did something nobody saw coming. They changed their own rules. This is the key plot twist right here. Zillow's old rule had that really strict 24-hour deadline. The new rule, it completely gets rid of the 24-hour clock. Now, the requirement is just that listings have to be made broadly accessible to the general public. It's a much more flexible, kind of ambiguous definition. And for Compass, this change was everything. And right along with this rule change, Zillow launched a brand new product called Zillow Preview. This was basically their own official platform for agents to pre-market listings before they hit the MLS. So in effect, Zillow created its own version of a coming soon tool, but one that was public from day one.
And listen, this wasn't some small feature launch. They immediately brought on some of the absolute biggest names in real estate. We're talking Keller Williams, RE/MAX, and Home Services of America. This sent a really clear signal that the entire industry was hungry for more pre-marketing options as long as they were open to the public.
Which brings us right back to our original question. After all of this legal maneuvering and all these policy shifts, who actually came out on top here?
Well, Compass immediately took a victory lap. Their CEO, Robert Redfin, framed the outcome as a win for consumer choice. He said their goal was always about giving homeowners more options, and in their view, Zillow's new, more lenient rules gave them exactly what they had been fighting for.
But Zillow tells a very different story. A spokesperson fired back, stating that their policy against hidden private listing networks is still firmly in effect. They warned that if Compass continues to operate an inventory hidden in the shadows, Those listings are still at odds with Zillow's standards.
So, the bottom line is this. You've got two completely conflicting victory speeches. Compass is saying, we won because the rules changed in our favor. And Zillow is retorting, you only dropped the case because the judge told you that you were going to lose. Our core principle against your private network is still standing strong.
It's a classic corporate showdown where both sides get to claim victory to their shareholders. But it leaves us with a much bigger question. In this high-stakes war between a tech giant and a mega brokerage, who is the real winner? Is it the companies themselves, or is it the everyday person just trying to find or sell a place to call home?